So obviously you've had this incredible life to date and much more to come, I'm sure. But how did your youth sports experience set you up for success?
Well, I truly believe that the lessons learned in sport truly have a great correlation to the journey of life for all of us, right? The ability to prepare for something, put in the work, plan, and things not going your way, you have to be able to pivot, right? Failing and getting back up, continuing to understand just because you make a mistake in one play, you doesn't mean you have to lose the game, right? Or lose the next play, right? You can always reset, make the next play, make the play after that, right? Just there's so many lessons in sport that prepared me for life, that prepare our students, our athletes, our kids for this journey of life. And when you sit back and look at those applications in family, in business, right, in friendships, sport is just sports has a note that kind of plays through all of those things in our lives.
I realize it's kind of a related question, but talk about the importance of that student athlete time for you and the lessons you learned there that you bring forward.
Well, I think what was great about being a student athlete is coming from Brandon, Manitoba to Winnipeg. Football put me in an ecosystem immediately, right? And I think for a lot of us, sports immediately kind of puts you into a brotherhood. Yeah, and your first year is kind of rough because you're learning a new culture. You're kind of getting adopted by the brotherhood. But once you're in, it's like these relationships that you sustain really for the rest of your life. It's this bond that's built when you sweat, you work, you grind together, you lose, you win together. Sports really helps build those relationships that are lifelong relationships. For me, when I think of the lessons specifically, football really taught me about just how to work and grind in silence, right? How to put in the work, continue to invest in yourself, continue to lift, run, train. Although at the moment present, I wasn't a starter. I wasn't, getting to play like I wanted to play, but I was committed to continuing just to do the work, knowing that my opportunity would once come. And when it came, I'd be ready. And sure enough, throughout my career, I've had 3, 4, 5 instances where it's just about grinding, nobody watching, doing the work, putting in the work. And then when the lights come on, when the opportunity comes, it's you're not surprised that you perform. You're not surprised that you rise up to the occasions because, yeah, I've been putting in that work. And sports really has taught me that and correlated to my life as an entrepreneur building companies, right? You have a company, you have an idea, and day one, no one's going to buy your product, right? No one knows about it. So you're just really about quality product, developing your narrative, your vision, your brand, and you just grind, you work, and then one day you sell 1 unit, then you sell 2 units, you sell 10, you sell 1,000, you sell 1,000,000 units, and that journey of being able to grind, although the reward's not there, although the accolades aren't there, you just continue to put in the work. That muscle that I've developed, I learned and I built it through sport.
And you can tell. Talk about why was for young people who are going, where do I want to go? Why was a Canadian university a good choice for you?
Well, I think one, I playing professional sports was never like a real dream of mine. Let me correct that statement. Playing professional football was never a real dream of mine. Growing up, I never had aspirations to play football. My dream was actually to play basketball and be a child psychologist or a veterinarian. Those were the things as a child that I wanted to do. I wanted to play basketball specifically for the Bulls. I wanted to, work with kids and help kids develop. And then I love dogs and I wanted to be a veterinarian. So when football fell on my lap, right, I was running after school programs at the YMCA. And that's just because, I was a student in a program called Youth Leaders, Y Leaders at the Y. And that program transformed my life. It really taught me the ability to communicate effectively, being able to unpack your own internal thoughts. During that program, we did a lot of exploring what your gifts, your skills, what your talent is. How do you apply that to the world around you? And then, conflict resolution, right? In our lives, we're all going to have conflicts. Understanding how to communicate effectively is like one of the number one ways to resolve conflict, right? So what youth leaders taught me that. I was a student in that program, and then I ended up helping run that program. I was one of the senior directors of that program, and my boss at that program came to Vincent Massey to start 9-man football, and he begged me to play. I said no. He begged me to play because I love basketball. I was like, no, a lot of people don't know. I went out and tried out for football, one practice in grade 9. And in grade 9, I was like, football, not for me. And then grade 12, Kevin Grindy said, hey, would you come play? I'm starting 9-man football. And I went out, and because I love Coach Grindy, obviously he's my boss. We spent a lot of time together, just a great man. I went out and played when I was in grade 12, my last year. And he got me a tryout for Team Manitoba. And I did not want to go just because I was like, football. I played one season, and he thought I'd be great. I was like, man, no thanks. He called my mother, and, they both agreed that I was going to go and explore this opportunity. She drove me against my will 2.5 hours from Brandon to Winnipeg, and I made the team.
It's awesome. What talk about that time in Manitoba University? The word greatest is tricky. The greatest influence is a tricky question, but a great influence. Can you think of one or two great influences on your life when you're at U Sports?
Well, I think, you're right on. I mean, there's so many, right? I truly believe it takes a village, right? You've heard that philosophy, to raise a child, it takes a village. And that, I'm that kid, right? I had one at home. I had an amazing mother and father. I think that's the first support system. When things seemed at their most bleak, I could call my parents, and I had an incredible support system that would assure me that I should keep working, keep grinding. An opportunity was going to come. I was raised in a family of faith, so the reassurance that God hadn't brought me this far just for me to get this far, right? Something good was around the corner. And, having that with that support from people that you love and that know you was just so critical to helping you to continue to push. And then just seeing how hard they work, right, to support us, myself and my other 3 siblings. So that was, I think, the first great mentors and inspirations that I had. And then I'd look to my teammates. I had some great teammates that were just studs, right? Just, you've heard the statement, iron sharpens iron, right? When you're in a locker room with guys that just are on a different level, right? You quickly cut, the weak, or you elevate, right? You either become a guy that doesn't make it because they're running, they're pushing, they're just on another level. Those guys fall off quickly, or guys come in and they step up and they push and they run and they develop, right? And it's just a part of a culture that's built. And, I'd say I had some great teammates that were just really inspiring, fun guys to be in a brotherhood with. And even in times where I wanted to quit, my 3rd year at the University of Manitoba, I was going to quit and go do something else. And, I had teammates like, hey, just keep working, keep grinding. Your time's going to come. I had a great coach, Bobby Dice, who was, hey, don't quit. Your opportunity's going to come, right? And for me, that was the difference, right? Just having people that believed in me. Although I had never really played a lot of football, I had the athletic ability, but the ability and the knowledge base to be successful are very different things, right? So having people in my corner to say, hey, keep working, stay in it. The time is going to come. That switch. It's when it turns over, you're not going to look back. Things are going to happen for you. And I just I believed, and then I did my part, right? I put in the work.
So good. Same thing. Greatest accomplishment can be a little dicey because greatest is an odd word in there, but what's some accomplishments or an accomplishment that you feel is a great one that you're proud of?
I mean, I don't know if I feel like I'm somewhat still in my journey, right? And people often ask me like, wow, can you believe all the things that you've accomplished? And I actually, as I sit here today, I do very little reflecting on the journey that's passed, right? Because I'm still climbing the mountain, right? And I'm still focused on the next step. And I have these goals that I'm still trying to achieve as now a former NFL athlete. These goals I'm still trying to achieve as an entrepreneur in Chicago, as an entrepreneur in the manufacturing space, in the technology space. I have it's a new game for me, right? And I have new wins and new championships that I'm trying to win in these new sectors. So I often don't look back. And also when I think back on like the success that we've had, you know, so much of it is not just me, right? It's like I've made it. I've had success because I've had great teams along the way. Even when you look at personal accolades, you know, winning the JP Metris, you know, Walter Payton Man of the Year, you know, final nominee 2 years in a row, you know, blocking. I led the NFL, you know, in blocked kicks for 2-3 years. In that statistic, you know, I had Brian Urlacher pushing me. He was my pusher, right? So I drove, he pushed me, and all I did was had to raise my hand. I could have closed my eyes, and I just happened to block a lot of kicks, right? So when I look at those things that I get love for, I'm just thankful that, you know, in these situations I've been the tip of the spear and I get the spotlight. But truly, it's there's a lot of weight behind me. There's a lot of support behind me. People right to, you know, beside me, like we're in this together. And that to me is what I'm really just proud of, right? As I look around, I haven't done it alone. The celebrations and the successes I've had, I've been able to do with some great people that I love and support. And there's nothing greater than winning with your team, winning with your family, right? That's just a real special feeling.
How and why do you give back to the community and alma mater?
Well, I was fortunate to be a part of the presidential campaign for the University of Manitoba, right? So, which was an incredible initiative, raising over, I want to say $600 million to really just take the university to a whole nother level. And, you know, again, it was a massive undertaking by a massive team. I was just a small part of that. You know, I got to come out and do the announcement around the campaign. I was able to, you know, obviously I pre-COVID, I came to Winnipeg every summer to do an all-star football and cheer camp where we had about 150, 200 kids every summer to just play football, right? It's a free camp to the kids. We had all of our football players from the Bison football team would come out and support the camp every year. And we would just, you know, pour into these kids, right? And something so little, it's always amazing to see how much impact it has on those kids. And what's so funny is, I mean, 15 years of doing that camp, we've had kids that were in the camp that grew up and said, hey, I love football, joined the Bison football team and became star on the football team, and then would come to the camp and coach another generation of kids that were coming to our all-star football camp, right? So over the years to have seen like these handful of young men that have been kids in our camp, now coaching in that camp and playing football because of that experience, was just really always so special to me. It was really what the journey is about, right? Can you know, the support that I had helped elevate and lift me to get me to this point where I am today. And I'm trying to just pay it forward and lift the next young man or woman to be the next Israel Idonije. And my hope is that they lift another generation to be their best selves. And if we can all just continue to do that, right, we make our world better. We make our community better. And that's what the journey is. At the end of the day, you do that not to overextend yourself, but the key is just to do it from a place where you're comfortable and where you're right where you're at, right? Giving from where you are is just so important.
I feel like this next question is built for you, just because when you first went into university, you didn't go in saying, here's my clear dream, here's my clear goal. Other people kind of nudged you there. So
Right.
when you talk to university students now and university athletes, and they're just thinking, I don't know, do I want this? Do I not? How am I going to pay for my education? And I got to somehow make the team and stay on the team and get school in order. What's your advice to that mindset and for young people in university now?
Well, I mean, it's the student athlete life. It's tough, right? You've got to be at practice. You've got to know your plays. You've got to train your body. You've got this whole other job that you're doing while you have to also maintain and excel academically, right? And which is a feat in of itself for so many, right? So, to the young athletes, I always stress the importance of, paying the price, right? It is difficult, but set everything aside, take the time, the energy, remove all the distractions, to pay the price today. It will be worth it, right? To achieve that, whatever it is, or even just to have said that you gave all you could with no regrets for that 4 or 5 year window in your life. When you're done, you can move on to that next chapter with peace and calm, knowing that you gave everything you had, or everything that you had to give. Right? There's guys, unfortunately, that I knew through my career, even, that they were just living the good life and focused on kind of all of the materialistic aspects of being a star athlete. And because of that, they lost out on the opportunity to really move to the next level. They lost out on the opportunity to take full advantage of everything that comes with that platform, right? And again, the distractions are many, but the window is short if you don't take advantage. And if you don't give all you have to that opportunity, often you have regrets, right? So to young athletes, it's first is, this is your job, right? When you start a business, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're in it, you're grinding, you're trying to grow it and develop it. And often it takes 5 years before you even start making real money, right? So before that business becomes a real thing. On that way, you've made a few pivots. What you thought the company was at first changed to something else. And like that new thing is what really helps you grow and go to that next level, right? Going through college is those first 3, 4, 5 years of your business. It just so happens it's your body, right? It's you're an athlete, right? And you're making that investment every day as an athlete. And it's important that you just don't let your eyes leave the target or the goal, that we all stay focused. And when it's all said and done, yes, the hope is maybe you get a professional, an opportunity at a professional level, right? Mm-hmm. Where you start now getting paid for that investment that you made. But for so many of us, there's also other opportunities that are equally as great that aren't necessarily, on the pro side. And the truth is that's for more of us than not, right? There's only very few seats. The Chicago Bears roster had 53 active on the roster. That's it, right? And every year there's a handful of guys trying to take a spot and take a seat on that, at that table, right? So for us that don't get there, it's important that you also, in that window academically, learn, like, what would I do? What are my skills, my talents, my gifts? When my short career, I played 11 years, short, right? When that short career is over, then what am I going to do? Then what skills have I sharpened? What tools do I have in my toolkit that are going to allow me to still execute something I love on the other side of this career, short or long?
So good. That's excellent. Israel, it's impressive. It's impressive just reading about you, but it's even more fun just chatting with you. So we really appreciate the time.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And you guys take care. All right.
You're a good man. Thanks so much, Israel.